time to build something smarter than before. Not just points, it's aligned to clear. Better leads, better teams right here. It's Lead Score Monday, you know the vibe. Fixing what's broken, bringing it to life. Showdown labs and quick fix flair. Casey's in the hot seat, see you there.
On the road to better scores, let's build what actually opens the door. On the road to better scores, let's build what actually opens the door.
Hello, everyone. Casey here, and happy Lead Score Monday. Today, I am chatting with Chris Carolyn all about whether it's better to wait for good data or just get something going before the old scoring system sunset in 20 days. My take, something is better than nothing. Better to get working on a score and get it in place now, and we can improve it over time. But Chris is going to argue that maybe we should understand our data, whether or not it's clean, before we do anything. We'll see whose approach makes more sense for you, and let's dive in. Hey, Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Also, I announced in my live earlier today, my Masterminds program, because the sunset is happening in 20 days. We're unlocking the rest of the sessions for everyone as people get prepared for that sunset. You can sign up using the link scrolling at the bottom here, or just DM me and I'll sign you up, and you can skip the form. Just DM me your email and we'll get you signed up to those. In those conversations, we're talking a lot about rebuilding before the sunset, but something Chris and I have talked a lot about offline is kind of what should that first step be, especially now that the sunset is here. I've said a lot on lives that I remember in like January when the sunset got released, and I had a ton of conversations with clients along the lines of like, this is something we need to worry about, but you know, we have a while, we can like figure it out. My conversations these days are different. My conversations nowadays are more, we need to do something today, especially if we rely on those systems. Chris, when you talk to people about their lead scores, as you love to do, famously.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't, honestly. I'm always focused on the underlying mechanism, which is the data, right? So, I mean, a big part of value first is if we know the thing's not working, like in terms of like it's creating misaligned teams or misaligned expectations, or the hard part is when it's just strictly supporting a KPI of some sort that people get measured on. That's something I always struggle with. And, you know, that's probably a different conversation. But like, do we understand what it means? And if we don't, or if we know it's causing other issues, why in the world would we just recreate it because it's sunset time? Right. So it is like a moment of, if you can't take time to understand the current state, like the data you have and what it means, then what is the value of a score on top of that?
Mhm. I think, broken or not, a lot of teams still rely on those scores. And I think my fear, as we very quickly, I mean, we have 3 weeks left basically to redo your score. I am starting to get worried that if people feel like it needs to be perfect, then we're going to lose our handoff process, potentially. And so I think where I'm getting to, and every day that we get closer to the sunset, I'm getting a little more loosey-goosey on like what the score needs to look like for August 31st.
Right. Can you clarify for me what happens if I get to August 31st and I haven't done a damn thing.
I guess I'm gonna qualify that by saying, and you're using your and you have scores in place.
Yeah, and I have legacy scores. I'm using them. They're built into wherever they get built into.
The things that they do, Chris
And like,
speaking
what
for-
happens? What happens on September 1st if I don't move them or make any changes to my portal?
My understanding is that they won't work anymore. So if you're using your score, I feel like the most basic like implementation is score reaches 100, contact gets marked as MQL and gets sent to sales. My understanding is on September 1st, those will stop going to sales. So you'll have your workflow that you're using based on the score will just stop running. And
Okay. And like, I mean, like from an admin perspective or from a marketer perspective, like if you're there, you know it needs to get better, but you can't get people to give you the time of day to make a change. Like, this is where don't listen to me. I got fired like twice in 10 months, right? I like to push the boundaries inside of organizations, but at some point you have to
don't listen to me, says a guy who spends all day on lives.
we just got to find a way to get better, right? And if that means like, hey folks, I've been trying to get you involved in rebuilding the score in the new way, but nobody's paying attention, like, and now the scores are gone. Like, what does that look like? I don't know. I mean, yeah.
So you think people should use that as the wake-up call their organization needs to build better?
It certainly could.
Good. He says
I mean,
mischievously.
find the comfort in your situation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, at least make it clear. Like, I think at the very least, kind of try to take a stand in terms of like, it would be a waste of time if we just recreated this system that we know is not working.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of recreating that, I would like to build it in a different way, which I need the team's involvement in that process. If we don't, or if we agree on that and still can't find time, know that on September 1st, these scores are going to stop happening. Are we okay with that? And we might be okay with that if everybody is agreed that the current system is not working.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'd say it like that's might be an olive branch of some sort where it's like if everybody's agreed and aligned that the current system is not working, like stand up for yourself in terms of like, I don't think it's the best use of my time to recreate this system. Like that's not working. Like, can we agree on that as a team? And that's where I haven't been in the position of like, no, we need it for KPIs. Like, I don't think it's probably not easy to argue against that. But this is the moment, like change is here. Like, can you leverage it to actually do things better?
And I will say, like 20 days out, I think you can rebuild your score better in 20 days. I'm working with teams that I'm doing just that, and I'm an exterior person. If you're interior, that gives you a huge leg up. And so I do think it's possible. And that's also why we're unlocking the masterminds now, because there is still a chance. If I unlocked it the day before, then like you're just the day before you're just rebuilding what you had. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
However, I think getting all the people aligned is a big challenge. I know, Chris, you're very passionate about a lot of things. Um, but recently about like, you know, is it fair to say every HubSpot has dirty data? I mean, I don't think
That's what I've heard.
I
That's
don't
what it
think that's
feels like. I think every CRM
every
we've
CRM.
known
That's
for a
fair.
while
Yeah.
has dirty data.
How
So
do you have any advice on determining how bad your portal's data problem is?
um
Is it a feeling? I feel like sometimes it's just a feeling.
I mean, you have to turn the feeling into action, I think is the
Mhm.
hard part, which means challenging conversations. But they don't even have to be challenging. It's just often there's a group of people working alongside each other where this is no one person's responsibility.
Mhm.
Like to own the success of RevOps as an example, right? Because RevOps should own basically the processes and the enablement and the technology that creates the data,
Mhm.
right? And creates insights from the data so that people in the organization can take action. And um, if you can't take time to understand the data that you have, like you're not interested in cleaning it or assessing it or getting an audit, or like we can't do this for you from
Mhm.
the outside, right? And like my least favorite story to tell about my internal days, it's like you show up, like, hey, we want to send an email to our customer base. It's like, okay, can I see the list of customers? Like, no, we don't have that
Mhm.
ready. Like, well, meanwhile, we're paying Zoom Info to get more data for
Mhm.
non-customers, right? Like it makes zero sense. So it's not about bad or good data, I don't think at the end of the day. Like, do we understand what the data we already have is telling us?
Mhm.
And if you have nothing, if you have no, in the case of lead scoring, in the case of most HubSpot data, honestly, if you have no bearing of how good or bad or trustworthy or not trustworthy it is, have closed one debrief calls with the sales team
Mhm.
and the marketing team. And if there's delivery, if that's important, like you don't get paid until the thing's delivered sometimes, like the customer facing team coming together and talking through everything that happened that led to revenue, right?
Mhm.
We spend time focusing on close lost a lot when we can't even, like Nico is starting to call it actual client profiles,
Mhm.
ACPs, right? Based on actual people that are paying us money.
Mhm.
Like it's hard to find businesses that have that like like the back of their hand, right? And if you don't have that, then what are we scoring up here? Like like based on feelings most of the time, right? Or based on how we get to the KPIs. Either way, not good.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm really thinking back on some conversations I've had with you recently about like structured and unstructured data. But you talking about this like sent me back to my agency days. And as an agency, you're like a step removed from the organization, which, as I said, like puts you at a disadvantage for understanding the data, but also like what accurate data is. um, but I remember really clearly one of my clients, the first client I ever had that implemented Gong, and I got to listen to some sales calls, and like I had been marketing for this, like I'd been on the marketing team for this organization for years at this point, but my first time listening into sales calls, and like there are considerations, there's people that we're not targeting that I'm like, they're very involved in the sales conversation and we are not targeting them at all. Um, but really to say, I think all of that unstructured data provides a really huge opportunity for us moving forward to turn that into something structured that we can score on.
Yeah. Yep. And I'd say the two things like that we could share are like had a great conversation with Joshua Oakes about this last week on Let's Build Your Audience series. We're going through the value path right now and like how to align like because it's so hard to align definitions of MQLs and SQLs and the things that like no customer is going to tell you like that they are one of those things, but they will tell you whether they're a hand raiser, whether they're in the market for the thing, whether they're just doing research, whether they're just like checking things out from an audience perspective. And you can start to align really quickly. So I'd love to share that as a resource. But then the data summit at the end of the month, you know, it's all about like how to align. Like the whole day is built along the customer journey that we call the value path, right? Like, because every step of the way, they need different engagement, which leads to different data, right? And like if you're not sure about unstructured versus structured data, right? In most cases, structured data is whatever exists in the HubSpot properties right now. Unstructured data, probably in the head of your sales team. Like that's where it is, right? And that's why I say, like, if you've never tackled this with any meaningful way, the easiest place to start, especially with AI, have a recorded conversation with some closed one debriefs and just get everybody out there. Cause that's what unstructured data is like. You know, marketing will say, well, we think, you know, they watched this whole video and that they did that right before, you know, they clicked the button or filled out the form. And the salesperson would be like, yeah, because I sent it to them. Right. And you don't, that doesn't, if you're not doing it in sequences or all these like manufactured ways inside the CRM so you can track it, which slows everything down, whether we like it or not, as technologists, right? You don't understand that unless the salesperson either shows it in the CRM, most times or not, or they'll be there. Like that's what. So this concept of unstructured, like unintentional unstructured data is the one where it's like somebody somewhere is like, oh yeah, no, this is how it went. Actually, this really, really important thing happened, and that directly led to the revenue. Right. Meanwhile, that stuff is so far away from the CRM. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most often that stuff is really because of the in-person conversation, like, and those just don't get captured. Those just don't get captured.
Right. Yeah, they don't. Like, so what we try to do is ask our sales team, like, put notes in the CRM. And it's like, well, that's hard. And it doesn't help me win the business at the end of the day. Right. There's lots of like, if you turn that's where if we have a close one debrief and we point to that stuff, and then that turns into better scoring, now we start helping the sales team out and they start engaging in this system that we want them to use.
I think one of the reasons that it can be really hard to get a good score implemented, like, yes, the data, reliable data is a problem, but also the marketing sales alignment is really, really challenging. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons that organizations do bring outside help in, because it's actually sometimes easier to get the sales team talking to someone outside than someone on the marketing team who is like the bane of their existence. But that's why explaining this is so important. And I think when I've had conversations with sales team members about lead scoring, they don't want to have it because they hate lead scoring and they hate the lead score leads and this and that. And it's hard because you're just like, yes, but hey, give me a second. Like I'm trying. And once you start to get some examples of good leads shown to them and things like that, it can help a lot. It's it just, I mean, it's a bit of a process. It can be a bit of a
Yeah.
process.
And I'll say like it goes all ways, right? I've seen it generally. If we think about the customer team as marketing, sales, and service or success, this is why RevOps is important as a function. Even if you can't give somebody a RevOps title, creating like a RevOps committee, like finding a way to make it objective, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Because if the marketing person is in charge of the thing, then sales is like, oh, you're just trying to hit your lead numbers and that stuff doesn't matter. You're the arts and crafts party planner department. Like, get out of my face. If sales is in charge of it, it's like, oh, you're just trying to drive like commission. Like everything you do is focused on money, money, money. And we're trying to execute like a brand leadership, like thought leadership program that's not going to work with that. And then if you got a service or success in charge of it, sales is like, well, you just want to give everything away. Like we can't do that. I've seen it. Like that's where no matter how aligned we say we are, just those titles like cause friction in terms of, I mean, especially when we all have different KPIs, right? Like, and if we can't align that, that's again, I come back to the concept of how do we get to a customer team where everybody is just aligned on revenue goals and very specific things that lead to the revenue, right?
Yeah. All right. So people who are today, they have not done anything, but they rely on their lead score for the sales handoff. What are you telling them to do today, Chris? Go watch that live with Oaks? Register for the data summit? I mean,
those two things would be good. But honestly, like assuming that the source of the root of the problem, like if you don't have a working one right now, if you have a working one right now, I don't think we're talking to any of those people. Honestly, they probably already rebuilt and they understand the value and how to get to the value.
yeah.
But if you don't, try to have just a learning conversation with the sales team. Like if you're marketing, like, and you're responsible for this, right? Just say, hey, I've got to like take responsibility. I've got to rebuild this thing, right? I'm not saying to like try to delegate it to make it consensus based because that's not necessarily a good plan either. Say, hey guys, I got to rebuild this. I would love to just learn more about the sales process, right? So can we have some kind of closed one debrief session so you can take me through exactly what happens? Because that's what we need to represent in our scores, right? And if you come at it from like a learning mindset, like let's get better together, like that kind of thing, like help me help you, is how I've been able to move salespeople in the past. Like the whole like I'll save you time, I'll help you prioritize. Like they will like run through walls doing it in the worst ways possible because they know what the outcomes, they know they can run through the wall. But if they don't know about the thing, like they're not going to believe time saved or anything like that. But if you tell them like it will help somebody around them, like somebody on the team, like they're more likely to move, in my opinion, because that person is helping sales do their job at some point, right?
Yeah.
So it's a weird shift that took me a few years to learn, but it's like kind of the human aspect of like, are you really not going to help me? Like if I just ask for it. So
All right. Any final thoughts, Chris?
August 28th, Data Summit,
Data summit.
free portal, free mastermind portal, all the resources. Literally, you can get in there. I'm sure it's like 30 to 60 minutes. you can be done with all this. Like the stress and the anxiety of looming legacy, like sunset, just melts away. So we'd love to see you in there.
All right. That's a wrap. Whether you're leaning towards getting something up and running or understanding your data first, the key is to take action before the old score sunsets in just 20 days. You do still have time, but making a clear plan and starting to take action now is really important. Thanks for tuning in. Drop your thoughts below and reach out to keep the conversation going. We will see you next Lead Score Monday. Bye.
Live now, don't miss the score. Join the build to something smarter than before. Not just points, it's aligned and clear. Better leads, better teams right here. It's Lead Score Monday, you know the vibe. Fixing what's broken, bringing it to life. Showdowns, labs, and quick fix flair. Casey's in the hot seat, see you there.
On the road to better scores, let's build what actually opens the door. On the road to better scores, let's build what actually opens the door.